Hey all, it's the Poor Sports Seattle podcast, and I'm back still in the hotel in Louisville, Kentucky. Um, as I record this, I'm about to do Dan Vian's Mariners Forever podcast. If you somehow get to this one before you've seen that, check it out because Dan's very funny or very talented. He's also very funny, but he's a very talented broadcaster. So this is we're gonna go over the we went over the NBC Sports top free agents with predictions list that I was pretty critical of, and I expected the Fangraphs and the Major League Baseball trade rumors ones to be a little more conservative on the salaries. And frankly, the Fangraphs one was just as high. And I haven't gone through this one completely. This is Major League Baseball trade rumors. This is the last of these we're going to do. So if you hate it, it's almost over. And if you love it, wait till next year. We'll do it again. Um, this is, I think, like the original folks that did this kind of thing. It's possible that Fangraphs was doing it before them, but we'll go through just the guys, just the people of interest, I think, on this because I went through it briefly, and it differs to a large degree from those other lists. I do want to say one thing about this list and how it differs from the NBC Sports list and the Fangraphs list. I believe, and I could probably find this out by actually reading the article that goes along with this, I believe this is in the order of most guaranteed money, as opposed to the other ones, which tried to do some sort of like a quality of free agent ability thing as well as guaranteed money. So they were saying, like, we think this guy's going to get more. We think this guy's better. We're going to rank it in the order of who we think is better. This one, I believe, is just in the order of guaranteed money. I think that's right. We'll see if we see any exceptions. At the top of the list, unsurprisingly, is Kyle Tucker. Here they have him getting 11 years, $400 million. One thing that I like about this list is they have four people give team predictions. So we see like the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Phillies, the Giants as the predicted teams. You know, I think we're going to see the top of this list. We're going to see a lot more of the Dodgers, and then it gets the guesses get a little more diverse. But I do think that's interesting. And we'll maybe at the end. I did accidentally take my mic stand to the comedy club yesterday, so it's going to be a little harder to type while we're doing this. But I just wanted to go over this list as early as we could. So they have Bo Bichette getting 8 years, $208 million. I still think this is a pretty good price for Bo Bichette, but you see. This is kind of the challenges. The Blue Jays they sweep the predictions. I don't know if Bo Bichette's interested in leaving the Blue Jays at all. I don't know if he would want to come to the Mariners at all. Like if history says anything, it's that like high profile offensive free agents, especially ones who may be young enough to get a second contract after this, they don't want to come to Seattle. So, but for that money, if Bo Bichette would come to Seattle for that money, I would absolutely do it, and I'd move him to third base, as I've talked about a million times. They have Munetaka Murakami getting 8 years, $180 million. I think that's a little bit less than the previous. No, is that? I think it's more years, less annual average value. He's 26 years old. I wouldn't be worried about an 8-year deal. I think that a $180 million salary, I think, would be easily the highest free agent deal the Dipoto regime has signed. Yeah, it absolutely. This would be something I would do. You can see in the predictions, it's the Mets, Red Sox, Dodgers, and also the Mets. I think that signing free agents from Japan is slightly different than signing free agents from America, because usually when someone becomes a free agent in America, there's a high probability that it's because their team knows something about their development curve that the team signing them doesn't know. In this case, it's a team that doesn't play in Major League Baseball. The Japanese team isn't letting Murakami leave to another Japanese team. So I guess I'm a little more. I feel the same way about Cuban free agents or players coming from the Korean baseball league. Or any foreign league versus American free agents, Major League Baseball free agents, where there's I just don't think there's not as much shit hanging off the bumper. You know what I mean? If I don't know if that's a good analogy or not. Uh, they have Alex Bregman at 6 years, 160. I think that he's been a little bit higher annual average value on the previous ones. None of them pointing at the Mariners. Framber Valdez, 5, 150. I think that's pretty realistic. There's you know, I got to tell you, it's surprising to me how little the prestige of having Ichiro in Seattle has carried through to this point. There was a time when the Mariners were like the presumptive favorite for every Japanese free agent, and obviously there's a lot of Japanese players with the Dodgers right now, and the Dodgers have had a lot of money to spend in recent years, and the posting system has changed, so these Japanese players are able to get a lot more money than they used to. So this is like, it's changed the economics of it a little bit. But I mean, for the Mariners not to be even mentioned on these first two Japanese players is quite an indictment, frankly. Real quickly, you don't need to know this, but we'll keep going down this list. Cody Bellinger, 5 years, $140 million. Nobody's pointing him to the to the Mariners. 3 guys going to the Yankees, one to the Rangers, which would be interesting. Kyle Schwarber, another guy of interest, especially if you're trying to make the comparison of Schwarber, Pete Alonso to Josh Naylor. 5 years, $135 million. I think is lower than the previous ones that we saw. Again, I think this list is closer to accurate. I think that the top end of the free agent market will get more than some of those lists have said, and I think that the bottom end, or this second and third tiers, will get less than they thought. Pete Alonso, I believe he was on the Fangraphs one. I think he was at 4 years, $110 million. Or 4 years, $120 million. Here he's 4 years, $110 million. I think that's probably closer to right. And then Josh Naylor comes in as their 12th ranked free agent. And they have Josh Naylor getting 5 years, $90 million. And I think this is, I mean, it's certainly closer to accurate to me than I think the last one we saw was 4 years, $100 million. I'd be much happier with 5 years, $90 million if the Mariners signed him. And you can see, by the way, that the Mariners are 3 of the 4 analysts that Major League Baseball Trade Rumors has asked for predictions from predict that Naylor will return to the Mariners. Listen, I don't want a 5-year contract for Josh Naylor, but if they sign him to this deal, I'm not giving it an F grade. I'd probably give it like a C plus, maybe C minus. It's a deal that keeping Josh Naylor will definitely make the 2026 team better than not having a first baseman or using an internal option. There's no doubt about that. There are positives. It's a lot of years. It's a lot of years for a guy with his body type. But if my max is 3 years, $60 million, and you're saying with that deal that the years 4 and 5 are essentially the marginal difference is like 2 years at $15 million each year, I can't be like, I don't like it, but I can't just completely, I'm not calling it an F grade deal. Edwin Diaz, by the way, with finally I think a reasonable 4 years, $82 million. What did the one yesterday I think was like $25 million annual average value? Crazy. Keep going down this list. Zach Gallen, 4 years, $80 million. He's a guy that I would keep an eye on if you're a Mariners fan, as if he sticks around, if he makes it into the latter half of free agency. Keep an eye on him. If the price goes down, I would love to see the Mariners get in on him. And by the way, we'll talk about this a little bit separately, but the news that the Mariners are in on Tarek Skubal is interesting because I don't want to see them trade a bunch of prospects for him. I think they could make a trade. They could package some prospects with one of those starters potentially and make one of the more compelling offers available to a Detroit team that's still a playoff contender. I don't know if Detroit's going to want to. I don't know if it'll be a little bit like when the Mariners traded Mark Langston for Randy Johnson. Mark Langston for Randy Johnson. A little bit like that, in that it's like a pitcher for a pitcher. What's another good example of that? Do you remember when Oh God, the Mariners traded Carlos Guillen for not Nefi Perez. It was horrible. It was like an obvious downgrade, but they wanted Carlos Guillen out of the clubhouse. They keep doing this and swinging and missing. By the way, organizationally, they'll push players out, and then that guy goes, uh, like because they just don't want him. I think that was the story with Gino the first time around, right? Maybe I'm wrong. We'll keep going down this list till we get to some guys that are interesting. Uh, Kazuma Akamoto, 4 years, $64 million for a 30-year-old. I think you got some. Again, you get some. You have some questions about how's it going to translate. 4 years, $64 million is obviously significantly less risk than the other Japanese players mentioned. I don't mind that. I wouldn't mind that for the Mariners. He's not predicted as a player the Mariners are going to target, but if he can play third base legit in the major leagues, like and Suarez is going to be gone, I think that's interesting. I don't like the idea of Ben Williamson being your. Here's a great 4 years, $64 million for a 30-year-old to sign Gino. They're predicting, and again, this is ranked on guaranteed money, not on talent. So I think that what they're saying with this is that they think Gino is more valuable. He's getting 3 years, $63 million. He's just older. I don't want Gino for that money. 1 year, 15. That's my offer to Gino. That's the max I'd be willing to do. Also, I will say, I'm not completely convinced. I've seen a lot of commentary that the Mariners would have to cover a huge chunk of Luis Castillo's salary. I understand why people expect that. I don't know if that's true. He's a guy that was like a pretty good value when he got signed, and he's on the latter half of the contract, but he was still productive last year. I think they might have some salary flexibility that people aren't baking into that like perceived trade. Okay, so here we get to Jorge Polanco, 3 years, $42 million. And one thing I appreciate about these things is I certainly don't think that every player they project to get 3 years is going to get 3 years. Some of these guys are going to slip through the cracks for sure. Jorge Polanco at a $14 million annual average value, I'll sign up for it. I'd prefer 2 years. If I was going to grade these deals, would I rather have Josh Naylor, 5 years, $90 million, $18 million annual average value, or Jorge Polanco, who starts at a higher athletic peak, in my opinion, whose offensive production has been very similar to Josh Naylor, switch hitter, some defensive versatility, etc. Who would I prefer the Mariners sign? 3 years, $42 million for Polanco, or 5 years, $90 for Naylor. I'm taking Polanco. Shorter contract, lower annual average value, and a guy that can move around the diamond, and that hits pretty well. He did have a very good year last year, but he's had good years before that. Naylor had a career year also. Chris Bassett getting 2 years, $38 million at, I think, going into his age 37 season would be so crazy. That's what I'm saying. Like, is Luis Castillo is worth that much less than Bassett? I just don't see it. Keep going. We'll keep going down the list here. Ryan O'Hearn predicted. So the one guy who did not predict Josh Naylor would sign with the Mariners, he predicts that Ryan O'Hearn would sign with the Mariners. I liked him as a trade candidate. I'm not stoked about him coming to a. He struggled so much in San Diego. I'd be worried about it. And then let's see. We'll keep going down this list. One guy I'm afraid the Mariners are going to sign is this Luis Arias. Do you know him? You probably know him. He's the just super high contact, no power. He was playing second base in like Minnesota, gets traded to San Diego, moves to first base because the defense is bad, and he's he's like Josh Naylor with even less power, with way less power. I'm terrified the Mariners, because of his contact abilities, are going to be interested in Arias. I think what we'll do is we'll do a find for the Mariners to see anyone else that's predicting players to the Mariners. This one has Justin Verlander. The MLB Trade Rumors one has him at 1 year, $22 million. By the way, they have Scherzer, Max Scherzer. I think I saw him further down this list. I thought he was 43. Maybe he's 40. No, 48. $48 million or 48th ranked free agent, getting $15 million for 1 year. Okay, so let's do a quick find and see if I'm gonna beep. We'll do colon. So they have Josh Naylor is predicted by 3 out of 4 analysts. Jorge Polanco by 2 out of 4 analysts. Ryan O'Hearn by I need to put Ryan O'Hearn by 1 analyst to the Mariners, and then it looks like there's one more. Luke Weaver, relief pitcher who was a starting pitcher at one point. Interesting reclamation project in Seattle. Pitched for the Mariners for a little bit. I've heard that name used quite a bit. I do think that the Mariners, they already got, and I already forgot his name, Cole Wilcox. Look for that guy. I mean, watch out for that. That guy's probably going to be in the bullpen next year, and I would be like, he seems like a perfect Mariners project. Overall, I think this list is probably, what I think I'm going to do is try to make a spreadsheet of all 3 of those lists with the salaries they projected, the ranking that they had, and see which one's more accurate. Because my belief is that this one is the most accurate. And by the way, go to Major League Baseball Trade Rumors. They update this constantly. This would be, to me, I would be happier about this Mariners offseason than the ones that we've seen if they sign these same players to the deals on the other. I mean, obviously, because it's less money, right? And the Scooble stuff, we'll talk about this. We're going to keep talking about the Scooble stuff, folks. All right. Thank you for listening. This is the last of these prediction ones, unless I find another one that's very compelling. Come see me do stand-up comedy, please. All right, I'm trying to hit the stop button on this.